All right, today we're going to talk about translations. This is the first of our transformations that we're going to talk about in this unit. So translations. A translation is a transformation in which each point of the figure moves the same distance. It's the same distance in the same direction. So another way to think about translations is it's a slide. You're just taking a shape on a coordinate plane and you're sliding it either left, right, up, down, or a combination of those. You could go left and down, or right and up, or right and down, or so forth. So think of it as a slide. You're just taking a shape and you're sliding it up, down, left, or right. Okay, so that's kind of another word for it. All right. In a translation, the pre-image and the pre-image meaning the one that you start with, and the image, they're talking about the one you end up with, are congruent. So congruent means they have the same shape and the same size. Congruent. Okay. The symbol for congruent is just an equal sign with a little squiggly on top of it. All right, so it just means that you're not changing the shape of the image, you're not changing the size of the image, you're simply making a new image the exact same shape and size, but just in a different location. You're just sliding it left or right, up or down. Okay, corresponding angles have the same measurement, and hopefully we know what that corresponding means. And corresponding sides also have the same measurement. Okay, they're both same. So look at the graph below and record the coordinate pairs for the pre-image. Use the pre-image points to create two new translated images. All right, so we're going to practice this. So let's start with this shape down here, this little triangle right down here. And it's already labeled A, B, and C. Well, we need to list the ordered pairs for A, B, and C. So the ordered pair for A, let's see, our X always goes first. That's our horizontal. How do we get from the origin over to A? We have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left. So if we go left 8, that means we go negative 8. Okay. And how do we get up to it? We have to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So since we went up 8, that would be a positive 8. So the ordered pair for A is negative 8, 8. B, we go over the same amount to get to B, but now we only have to go up 1, 2, 3. So B is going to be negative 8, 3. Okay. And C, how do we get to C? What's the ordered pair for it? Well, we have to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have to go up 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go to negative 4 to positive 3. Negative 4, positive 3. Now, just so we remember from our previous lessons, what quadrant is this in? Well, if you remember, this is quadrant 1, which means this is quadrant 2. So it starts out in quadrant 2. Okay, it starts out in quadrant 2, and we're going to translate it. All right, so now it says we're going to take it and we want the image to be at x plus 5, y plus 2. That means for every x of my A, B, and C, I'm going to add 5 to them. I'm going to shift the whole thing to the right 5, and then I'm going to add 2 to the y's, which means it's going to go up 2. Should shift right 5 and up 2. So we're going to take each one of our x values and we're going to add 5 to them. So negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. And Negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1. Okay, so we added 5 to each one of our x values. Now we need to add 2 to our y values. So 8 plus 2 is 10. 3 plus 2 is 5. And 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so here are our new points for our new image. Okay, and words describe this translation. So the image moved 5 units to the right and up 2 units. So let's write that. The image moved 5 units right and up 2 units. Okay? Now, let's do this one. We're going to do it again, but now we're going to take it wants us to take the original one. Okay, and this time it wants us to move it to the right 5 and down 8. So we're going to take all of our original A points, okay, and we're going to add 8 to them. Well, negative 8 plus 8 is 0. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0. And negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4. Okay? Now let's do the y's. Well, the y's that wants us to subtract 8. So 8 minus 8 is 0. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. And 3 minus 8 is negative 5. Okay, so there are our 2 new shapes that we're going to graph here in just a second. Now, sometimes they will want you to go from the first shape to the second shape, and from the second shape to the third shape. But this one doesn't want you to do that. This one wants you to go from the first shape to the second shape, and from the first shape to the third shape. So that's a little bit different, okay? And I'll try to explain that when we get to those where we're doing more than one step. So in words, describe this translation. So what did we do here? We took the original shape and we moved it to the right 8, right? We added 8 to all of our x's. That means we took all of our x's, moved them right 8, and this minus 8 on the y value tells us we moved it down 8, okay? So we can write the image moved 8 right, 8 units right, and down 8 units. Okay, so let's graph them and see what they said, or see what they look like. Right, so it says using 2 different colored pencils, graph the new image. Make sure to, or new images. Make sure to label both figures. Okay, so when we label these, our original ones are A, B, and C. Our new ones, and it looks like it up here. See this little line next to the A here? That's called a prime. And that's just so that when you graph it and you label it, that you know that this one is the image and the original one, or the pre-image, is the one without the primes. So see how this A has a prime next to it, this B has a prime next to it, and the C has a prime next to it. It just kind of helps you make sure that you understand when you're looking at it and you have it graphed, that this was the original one. And when we graph these 3 points, those are going to be this image right here. And then if you look down here on this one, let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit so you can see that. If you notice, they have 2 primes. This is A, oh, where is that? A prime prime. That just tells us that third image is going to go with these points right here. Okay, so that's just going to kind of help us make a connection between what we're graphing. All right, so let's graph the points. The first one is graphed 4 is, but let's graph the next one, or the next two. Okay, so I'm going to use purple for the next one, and it looks like for this one I need to go over to -3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 over here, and I need to go up 10. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 to the left, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right there. And that's going to be A prime. Okay, and then my B is going to go over -3, so 1, 2, 3, which is left of the origin, and up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be right there. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So that's going to be my B prime. And my C is going to be 1, 5. So I'm going to go over 1 to the right and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be my C prime. Okay, so now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw that triangle. So I'm going to connect B to C and A to B, or I should say A prime to B prime and A prime to C prime. And that's not exactly lined up. There we go. And this should be my new image. So we literally just, it should look like we took this shape right here and we moved it to the right 5 and up 2. We just slid it. We just slid it over 5 and we moved it up 2. It's the same shape, it's the same size, it's just been slid over a little bit to the right and a little bit up, okay? Now, let's do the third one. So the third one says that we're going to start at, I think I'm going to use blue for this one. Okay, we're going to start with our A prime prime at 0, 0. So that would be our A prime prime. And our B prime prime is going to be 0, -5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our B prime prime, 2 primes. And our C is going to be at 4, -5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our C prime prime. Okay, so take your ruler, draw your triangle. A prime prime to B prime prime, B prime prime to C prime prime, and A prime prime to C prime prime. That's one too many primes for me. Okay, so here we go. There's our third shape. Okay, so we had our original, we had our first one, our first image, and remember, what's the original one called? The pre-image. And then we had our first image, and then we had our second image. They look like the exact same triangles, they've just been translated. This one's been translated to the right 5 and up 2 from the original one. This one has been moved to the right 8 and down 8. Okay? So it says, what rule could be used to translate the figures so it would be located in quadrant 3? Okay, so let's think. All right, if we remember correctly, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. It says, what rule could be used to translate it down to quadrant 3? I want the whole thing to come down here. Well, really, all I need to do is slide this straight down, don't I? Yeah, that's all I have to do. So I can literally just take my x's, and I don't really have to add, well, do I have to move them left or right? No, I don't. So I could really add 0 to them. But my y's, there's a little comma here, okay? But my y's, I need to move it vertically down. Well, I need to get A at least down to here, don't I? So let's see how far I have to get it down. And if I get A down there and I get B and C the same distance in this direction, vertically down, then the whole thing will be down here. So from A, I need to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need to go at least 9 down. Okay, I need to move the whole thing at least 9 down. So why did I pick A? Because that's really the farthest vertically north point that I have of the 3 points. It's farther north than the other two, or farther up. So I need to go down at least 9. So let's just say I take all my y's, and now if you're going down, what do you do to the points? Well, you subtract. So I need to subtract at least 9 from them. Okay, so it said what rule could be used. Well, this is one rule that could be used. You could have said that you moved it right 1 or 2 or 3, and that would have been fine. You could have said that you subtracted something bigger than, or something like -10 or -11 or -12. That still would have put it down here in this third quadrant. So there are really multiple answers that you could put down here for this one. But this one definitely does work. Okay? Now, another thing that you might see with translations is translation notation. So I wanted you to write that down here and kind of add that to your notes, because you definitely will see this at some point. Notation for translation. And this is just kind of a shorthand way that they will write things. Okay? So they usually use a capital T, which stands for translation, and an AB, a little subscript AB, little AB. And that AB just stands for, the A stands for what I'm adding to the, or subtracting from the X's. The B stands for what I'm adding or subtracting from the Y's, okay? So if I say translate, this would be translate 0, -9. My A would be 0, my B would be -9, okay? So now you would see translate AB to point XY, all right? So that just means P stands for point, the XY just stands for all the points, all right? The way you read that would be, I'm going to take my point and I want my A's added to my X and my B's added to my Y's. Okay, so that's the way that that's read. I know it's a little bit confusing, but just remember, T stands for translation, P just stands for point. The A is what you add to the X's, the B is what you add to the Y's, okay? The A's go to the X's, the B's go to the Y's, and that's what it says right here, okay? So let's say, for example, I use this one right here, okay? I would say translate 0, comma, -9, and let's say I'm going to use point A, okay? So let's say I use point A, and point A was where? It was at, I recorded it way up here at the top. It was at -8, 8. So -8, 8. Okay? So what that tells me is, if I read this correctly, I'm going to add 0 to the -8, and I'm going to subtract 9 from the Y, or this 8 right here, which is my Y, okay? So if I perform that translation, then this one becomes -8, and this one becomes 8 minus 9 is -1. And that's how you do that, okay? So we'll practice some more of those, but I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up and let you get that in your notes so you have that to refer back to. And that's all I have for our notes for right now. All right, have a good day.